Welcome to Real Person Reviews. My name is Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about my favorite game of all time on my favorite system of all time, Banjo-Kazooie on the Nintendo 64. This was a game made by Rareware, or more commonly known as Rare, but at the time they were called Rareware. And it is a 3D platformer adventure collect-a-thon game. I would compare it very much to Super Mario 64, and it's also quite a bit like Donkey Kong 64, which was also made by Rare. There is a story to the game, and it's rather simple, which is nice because, I mean, who gives a shit about a big, crazy story? I know I sure as fuck don't. It's very much taken from fairytale type thing. There is an evil, ugly witch, Gruntilda, who wants to know who is the prettiest in the land. Wanting it to be her. And turns out that it's not. Instead is this bear called Tooty. And, well, that pisses her off. So Gruntilda decides to kidnap Tooty, bring Tooty back to the lair, and, basically put her in a machine so that it will transfer their beauty, so that she can steal her beauty. It's a simple thing, and basically, what you need to know is that was your sister. You are really two main characters: Banjo, who Tooty is his sister, and Banjo is also a bear, obviously, and Kazooie, which is a bird. And Kazooie is basically in your backpack. You both work as a one-unit character, with Banjo being outside most of the time and Kazooie popping out for certain abilities. It is really good. And, the plot is simple. You're just going to try and save her. And how you do that is by going through Gruntilda's lair, a hub world, pretty much like, like Peach's Castle from Super Mario 64, and going into the different levels there. And again, it's like going into the paintings of Super Mario 64. Very similar in this. You need to collect a whole lot of things in the game. The main things you're trying to collect are musical notes, which open up doors within the layer so you can keep progressing, and golden jigsaw pieces, often just called jiggies. And you use these to open up new levels so that you can enter more levels. It's pretty simple. It's a lot like just getting the power stars in Super Mario 64 in order to progress through the castle. It's a similar idea. And the formula works pretty well. And because obviously Super Mario 64 did pretty damn well, didn't it? I'm sure most of you are more familiar with that if you're not even familiar with Banjo-Kazooie, so that's why I'm drawing the comparisons for you. And, there are a lot of things to collect in the game, I guess it kind of goes along with level design. So I think the levels are designed beautifully. I mean, the level design is just great. While most of these levels aren't huge, there's not a whole lot of space in them, I guess. Most of them are actually pretty small, but the thing is, they're designed really well in that, you can traverse them in a very fun fashion, but the real thing that's great about the level design is that there are so many things for you to collect that if you can go to a place in the level, there is something for you to do there. Usually there's something for you to collect, be it a musical note, be it a jiggy, a red feather, a gold feather, eggs, a mumbo token, an extra life, an empty honeycomb, a Jinjo, or, maybe some level-specific item, maybe some kind of switch or button or something that you're supposed to interact with. There's usually something for you to do there. It's usually, I don't think of many places in the game where you can easily go that there's nothing for you to do there, unless you've already been there before and the item that was there stays, permanently gone. So it's really, really great level design, and it makes you want to explore the whole level and rewards you for it. And I guess you're not going to get as far, and you definitely won't get 100% completion in the game unless you search, all the nooks and crannies of the levels. And it's fun to do it. It's an exploration. It's adventure. It's great. And it just works really, really well. And I will give it the leg up in level design on Super Mario 64 in that in Super Mario 64, I don't feel like you use the levels as well. You can usually get a few stars depending on you know, what star you select at the beginning, but that's the thing. When you select a star at the beginning of the level in Super Mario 64, you already know exactly what you're supposed to do, or have a pretty good idea of what you're supposed to do in order to get that star. And depending on what star you pick, the level might have different layouts. And once you get a star, you have to exit the level. And then if you want to get another one, you have to go back in and do everything all over again. You're doing the levels multiple times. And the thing with Banjo-Kazooie is that once you go into a level, you can run around and you can collect. There are 10 jiggies in every level, and you can run around and collect. There's also 100 musical notes to collect. There's a bunch of things to collect, but just talking about the jiggies compared to stars, you can collect all 10 of them in a level, and in one go. You just run around, collect it, you keep going, you can get the other ones, and you don't lose your progress in the level. And then you can leave, and you only lose your progress when you actually leave the level and then return. So it is possible for a lot of the levels, especially the earlier ones, for you to just go around and actually get everything in one go. And that's really nice because not only does it mean like you want to explore everywhere in the level and you want to keep going, but like you don't have to feel bad about grabbing one jiggy over another. It also doesn't tell you what to do. You actually have to figure out what to do in order to get these jiggies, which helps, you know, makes you think a little bit more, makes you explore a little bit more. And it's nice that it's not just all spelled out for you, and I really like that. I think it's really good design. The only thing is that some levels you can't do in one go, or if you can, you would have to wait to do them and then do levels in a different order. There's not a set order of what levels to do in, but like what order to do levels in. There's no order there, but like there is sort of a suggested one, I guess, and you gradually unlock ones as you go. So you generally will do, you know, ones before others, and you do have to go back once you get some abilities. Because some places, yeah, you need an ability to get certain jiggies, so you'll have to return. And that's a little annoying because, well, once you leave a world, you don't keep the musical notes on there. I believe in the Xbox Live Arcade version, they changed that so that you do, but in the original, you collect the notes, and whatever the highest number of notes you have, max is 100 in each level, however many notes that you have when you leave, that is your note count. And when you return and go back into the level, all the notes are reset. So in order to actually bring that note count up, you have to collect all those notes you've collected before, and then collect even more of them to keep that number increasing. And that total number added up for each level is your note total, and that's what affects the note doors within the layer. So, I mean, that can be a little annoying, but that's also why it behooves you to actually search the whole level and do your best to really scour it and get everything, because as far as I know, also, I think you might be able to actually get all of the notes in one go on all of them, but I could be wrong on that one too. You might have to come back on some. So there's a lot of abilities you can get, and let's talk about those. And again, comparing to Super Mario 64, thing is, yeah, in the beginning of Super Mario 64, you have a bunch of stuff you can do. You can run, you can jump, you can dive, you can jump, double jump, triple jump, backflip, long jump, do a side flip, wall jump, you do a ground pound. There's just a whole bunch of shit you can do, and some of the signs in that game will tell you what to do, but there's really not a place for you to really try it out. In Banjo-Kazooie, in the beginning, I think it's really cool how you really don't start out with all of the stuff right away. You can jump and duck, and that's mostly it, I think, at least as far as immediately. And then you talk to Bottles, which is a mole, and he teaches you moves. And in the very beginning, the Spiral Mountain is basically like a tutorial level. So like you go around and you get moves as you talk to him in the different areas, and once you've got all the moves and found all of them and make sure that you actually can successfully do the moves to move on, in most of the cases, then after that you've become acquainted with the moves one at a time, you've practiced them a bit, and you know how to play, and it's nice. And what's also super nice about this is that if you've played the game before, you don't have to do this. You can just say that you have everything you need, and then he just gives you all of your moves immediately. So if you haven't played, it's nice to get that tutorial stuff, and if you have played, it's nice that you can just skip it, and you still can do the stuff to get the empty honeycombs in there, but you don't, which upgrade your health, but, I mean, like, it's nice that you don't have to sit through the explanations of everything. It's done really well, and I don't know why more modern games aren't like that, where it's like, yeah, here's a tutorial if you need it, but if you're good to go, you can skip it. It's really, really nice. I like that a lot. And in comparison, I guess, also, you do learn new abilities in this game, which are actually different things that you can do pretty much at any time. And while some of them might require you to pick up stuff like shooting eggs requires you to have eggs, flying requires you to have red feathers, using this invulnerability move requires you to have gold feathers and such, I mean, you can still do them at any time provided you have that stuff. And you can have that stuff on your person at pretty much any time as well, so you could probably do it. You know, it feels very free. In Super Mario 64, it was more like you didn't really learn any new abilities. Basically, there were just 3 power-ups you could unlock. There was the Vanish Cap, which turned you invisible and you can go through walls. The Metal Cap, which lets you walk underwater and kill certain things. And then there was the Wing Cap, which allowed you to fly in the air. And all those are neat, and they definitely give them to you where you need them. You have to collect the power-up, and it doesn't really feel like it's not really an ability. It's not something you can do at any time. And Banjo-Kazooie does have a few of those too, like with the speed shoes and the wading boots, but and maybe like the pads to do things. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff you can do just like you get a lot of abilities that you can do just whenever. And that's really great. That it makes you feel like you're progressing. It makes you feel like you're accomplishing more stuff. You're actually becoming stronger because you're learning how to do new things, and it's something you can do whenever you want. So you have a lot of that freedom. And another thing that's great, which it depends on who you are, I suppose, but the soundtrack is wonderful. Really, really like the soundtrack a lot. Also, I think it all kind of fits together really well. The very cartoonish nature of it. The dialogue with a lot of characters is very goofy, and the music is very quirky. Everything kind of comes together in a way that makes it so, like, this game, with all the sights, the sounds, and everything put together, the actual way it's played, it doesn't really get old. It hasn't aged, is what I would say. There's nothing about this game that, there's nothing about it that is bad now, because it still controls really well. It still looks great. It still plays great. Sounds great. I mean, there's just, there aren't problems with it. It doesn't feel like it's aged. And maybe that's just me, but I really just don't feel like it is aged. It's, in a way, it's a lot like the very first Super Mario Bros., where a lot of people still play that today. It hasn't really aged. I mean, it might technically look older and, maybe it doesn't do everything that newer games do, but there's nothing about it that feels like it's hindered by how old it was. It just feels like good. It didn't need that stuff. It's fine on its own. And I think Banjo-Kazooie is just it's great. And, I usually talk about all this really great stuff, and then, another thing, more great stuff that I didn't mention, is that it's near the end of the game, too. I really love this, and sorry if this is kind of a spoiler, but there is a trivia game. You're like, oh, it's going to be a final boss time, and then it's like, oh, it's trivia. And it's kind of like a little board game where you answer trivia questions about the game. So maybe it's like a trivia about, locations, about music, about sounds, about screenshots, just specific little things about the levels. And there's actually some trivia about Grunty herself, which you can figure out by talking to her sister, who is scattered throughout the lair, who will tell you a few facts about her, and you're supposed to remember those things. And that's cool. Like, the game rewards you for paying attention, for playing through it, for appreciating the game, and I think that's just so cool. And I always thought like that was one of like my favorite things to do there too. Is I got here, it's like, okay, all the stuff that I know, I'm gonna have this little trivia of how much I fucking love this game. And guess what? I love it a fucking lot because I usually win that board game pretty easily. So it's really fun. And then they give you a credits thing, and then after that you can do the final battle. And the final battle is pretty fucking awesome because it does pretty much, yeah, maybe not every single thing, but it use a lot of the abilities that you learned along the way, and that's really nice. As opposed to Super Mario 64, where you kind of just do the same boss battle as you did the other 2 times. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, with a comparison here, is that Banjo-Kazooie is like Super Mario 64 perfected. It's better. And maybe that's just me, but fuck. I love this game, obviously. And, okay, now like I was saying, I usually have all this great stuff that I talk about and all these positive points first, and then I have to look at the negative things, because generally there's less of them for a lot of games, right? And it's just the order I do it in, whatever. But, thing is, there's not really much that I don't like about this game, being my favorite game of all time and everything. And coming up with issues with it, I don't know. I guess there are a few parts that seem really hard, but most of the game is pretty easy, and the parts that I find difficult are probably just because I'm not doing it the best way, or I'm just not the best at that part specifically. There might be other parts where people are really bad at that I'm really good at. Maybe people are really good at those parts that I suck at. I don't know. But the point is, it's hard to think of anything negative about this game, really. I mean, I really just draw a blank because I just love everything about this game so much. I guess there are some glitches, but all games have them. It doesn't happen very often if it does happen. And I suppose the backtracking is the only thing I guess I'd have a gripe with, is that because of some of those earlier levels are designed so you can just blaze through them and not need to, you can just go through and get everything in the level and then be done with the level. And they have that, but then some levels you have to, go into, you'll do a bunch of stuff and realize, oh, I need this other ability to do stuff. So you have to leave and then come back to the level later with your newfound abilities and then finish it. I think it could have been done better where you could just finish everything all in one go. But then again, it's fun to play through the levels anyway, so it's not like it's a big deal. And it's just, God, I just love this game. I just love this game. So, Banjo-Kazooie. Highly recommended. If you have Nintendo 64, I think you should have this game. I don't know what happened to the cover, and maybe I'm holding on. I don't know. There's a little rattly thing in here, but you can't hear it right now. Maybe it got stuck in a spot. I'm really worried this is going to stop working. Honestly, I do want to get another copy for a backup just in case. This is probably the only game that I would actually like to find in box, and I would buy that, because I usually don't give a who gives a shit about boxes, but I would buy this in box, completed box, even just with the box, or just buy the box and the manual separately. I don't know, I don't care. It would be awesome. And I just want another copy of it so that I have a backup one in case this one craps out on me, because it's my favorite fucking game. And honestly, this is probably one of those games where if, this did break and I had to find another one, and for some reason another one was, $60, and that was, the cheapest I could get it, I would still get it. I would pay pretty good money for another one of these, because it's so good, and I just would not want to not have a copy of it. I wouldn't want to go without. For most people, I would probably, even for most people, I would recommend, generally when I see this, it's maybe somewhere in the range of $20 to $30, maybe a little bit more. I would say this is easily, it's hard to really judge this fairly for what you'd want to pay, but for the amount of content and replayability and for the amount of awesomeness that is this game, I would say that, $40 is probably good for most people. that's probably what I'd say your ceiling price would be. Obviously, I would go higher, but if I needed to. But $40, is probably pretty good for this. And especially when you consider how some other classics are up there, like Super Mario 64, Super Smash Bros, Legend of Zelda games are usually up there. Yeah, $40 is not bad. You'll probably be able to find it somewhere from 20 to 30 anyway. And it's just a must-have. I absolutely think this is a must-have. If you can get it on the Xbox Live Arcade, go for it, I suppose. From what I've seen, it's not that different, so that's good. I don't know how it plays, how it feels, different controller and everything, but definitely, like, if you have a Nintendo 64, if you're thinking of getting a Nintendo 64, this is a game you need to have. Absolutely. And it's just so great to me as well. And this is something I just wanted to tell you guys too, is one of the things that makes this game so great to me is the way that it's an experience that not everyone even has, and most people only have like once in their life maybe. And this game just feels like it was designed for me. That's what it feels like. It's such a crazy feeling to be like, this has a perfect blend. For me, this has such a perfect blend of the platforming, 3D platforming collect-a-thon elements in the adventure that I love so much, and it has all of that, and the sights and the sounds, the music, all of it, and plus it throws in a little bit of the mini games and a little bit of the puzzles and just the right kind of mixture that makes this game just fucking amazing. Masterpiece. And it feels like it was made for me. Like someone made this game and was like, I bet Sam would love the shit out of this thing. I'm gonna make it like this. And I do. So thank you. Thank you. And, I don't know, I just want to say like that because that's great, and that's just such a great feeling. And it's my favorite game of all time. On my favorite system. How do you get better? How do you get... So, in the comments for you guys, what do you think of Banjo-Kazooie? Put it in the comments. What was your favorite level from Banjo-Kazooie? Put that in the comments, sure. What was your favorite Banjo-Kazooie game? What was your favorite Nintendo 64 game? And what did you think of the video? What else you want to see reviews of? Whatever random thing you are already typing in there. Leave it in the comments. Yeah. And, buy it.